WV Uncommon Place. This podcast is a variety podcast that houses numerous series to cover mental health, empowerment, podcast framework, and various intimate theories to get to know the hosts. Along with occasional movies reviews and dives in pop culture with our event podcast episodes. The Uncommon Place digs into bringing guests on that stories don't fit the mold and are very different. WV stands for the great state of West Virginia, and every quarter we cover something in West Virginia. Stacey and myself, JR, are your hosts, so please come along for this venture to our Uncommon Place.
Welcome to West Virginia Uncommon Place. I am JR, and on today's episode, we're going to dive into the fascinating world of the Jetsons. Now, the Jetsons, it was a futuristic space-age family that captured the imagination of audiences worldwide. Now, with that being said, let's just get into this. The Jetsons, for me, and the reason that this is just a standalone episode for it, have an amazing venture because this show only aired in its entirety in one season. The Jetsons debuted in 1960, showcasing the space-age adventures of George Jefferson, his family, the robot maid Rosie, set in the 21st century. The animated series envisioned a world filled with flying cars, robotic contraptions, and elaborate technology, offering a whimsical glimpse into a futuristic society. So, man, let's just be honest. Let's get right into these characters. First off, George Jetson. The patriarch of the Jetsons family, George is an earnest, well-meaning, and hardworking man. He works at Spacely Sprockets, operating a push-button computer named Rudy. George is often portrayed as a loving but slightly clumsy father who cares deeply for his family. Next, Jane Jetson. Jane is George's stylish and caring wife. She is a homemaker, offering futuristic gadgets to simplify her household chores. Jane is portrayed as a loving mother to their two children and is known for her fashionable taste and tendency to embrace new trends. And at the same time, this taught anybody that's seen it that when she came for the money, she took the whole wallet and just gave George some money back in the intro. So that right there was just like, boom. You know, that right there threw me for a loop as a young man, because I'm like, why is she taking all the cash? And then I come back and I think about it. She's taking all the cash because she runs the show. So that's just something to tie in there for later on in life. The daughter, Judy Jetson, the eldest child in the Jetson family, is a teenage girl navigating the typical challenges of adolescence in a futuristic world. She is depicted as a fashionable, music-loving, and social young lady. She's often seen using futuristic technology and gadgets to communicate and interact with her friends. And a lot of the stuff that she goes through, it's sad, but the kids are going through it now. So that's one way to tie in Judy. Judy relates to a lot of the population right now. So if you haven't watched the Jetsons, definitely go check her out. Next up, Elroy. Elroy is the youngest member of the family. He's highly intelligent for his age and has a keen interest in science and space exploration. His genius level intellect, along with him remaining innocent and playful, help him out, because when they go on adventures or whenever he's spending time with his family, he kind of knows how to play the part. But on the low, I felt like if he got a deeper series, sort of like how they did Velma, you know, Velma got a darker story. So if they got a darker story out of Elroy later on, if they rebooted on the Max or however they're doing things, that would be one thing there. Next up, Astro. Astro is the Jeffersons family pet, their pet. He's lovable, talking, mischievous, and he talks in a random ass voice. Astro is loyal to them, and he always ends up in these weird situations because of the stuff he does. And he's almost like a precursor to what Scooby will become later on. Last but least, Rosie. Rosie is the Jetsons family. It's their humanoid robot maid. She's kind-hearted and efficient, and she's sassy. She was the personality on the show. All the other characters were good, but Rosie, there were quite a few times that she she had it. She just had that wit. She was comic relief. And she helps Jane with the daily chores and everything else. But Rosie, on the other hand, like, sometimes her sarcasm was just a way to make the show lighter and, keep going on from there. But just like everything, everything inside my Rise and Fall series, will just go right to it. Despite its captivating premise and appeal, the Jetsons faced hurdles early on. The show initially aired for only one season due to financial constraints and competition from other programs. Now, mind you, this is in the 60s, so this is a crazy thing. The cost of animation techniques required for its futuristic settings were notably high and contributed to the decision to discontinue the series after its brief run. And this is crazy. The Jetsons was originally produced as an animated series by Hanna-Barbera that aired from September 23rd, 1962 to March 17th, 1963. The show comprised one season consisting of 24 episodes during its initial run, but however, due to popularity and subsequent syndication, along with later revival attempts in TV specials, the Jetsons have remained like a well-known animated series. Like, I'm talking t-shirts. Heck, they even got a movie in my generation, and they became a cult classic. The futuristic themes, the horror, the humor, the iconic characters. This stuff was later put into further episodes down the road and adopted into movies, comics. And this was one of the first things that I learned that was a cult classic. That's the main reason why I'm talking about this. Because how can something from the 60s that only initially had a single season run, 24 episodes, carry on from the 60s into the 80s to the 90s, garner a movie, and keep going from there? Now, however, the cancellation of the Jetsons did not mark the end of its story. Over time, this series garnered a devoted fan base. The reruns and just the imaginative storytelling and enduring characters carried on. So what Hanna-Barbera was doing at the time was they had another classic called The Flintstones. And these two series set in two different times, one futuristic, one in a prehistoric setting, cross paths in a series of crossover episodes titled The Jetsons Meet the Flintstones. Through the magic of time travel, viewers witnessed the collision of the two iconic families. The Jetsons navigated the primitive lifestyle of the Flintstones, resulting in comedic and heartwarming interactions between the contrasting characters. The crossover episodes not only delighted audiences, but also showcased the enduring popularity of both series. The clever mashup of futuristic technology and ancient civilization added a new layer of entertainment, captivating fans of all ages. And I'm telling you, like me too, I was a fanboy. Like, it made sense for this to just keep going. So, just with that being said, that's how tight things were when it came to what went on and what happened with the Jetsons. Now, on the other hand, one thing that doesn't get mentioned is that Hanna-Barbera is the actual home to everything that's related to basically Cartoon Network. And in that instance, Hanna-Barbera just kind of like, I don't know, like, it's weird that, it transferred over to William Street into what is Cartoon Network now, but basically they kind of, died off. But let me tie this up real quick with Hanna-Barbera. Hanna-Barbera, started in the 1950s. It was the animated division. William Hanna and Joseph Barbera joined forces after being at NGM Studios. And they decided to produce quick content that was cost-effective. And the first show that they released was the Rough and Ready show, laying the foundation for the studio's legacy. Later on down the road, they would do Huckleberry Hound. It's the first animated series to win an Emmy. They would go on to produce the Flintstones, which would probably become their biggest thing at the time. And basically, as soon as the 70s rolled around, they did this Scooby-Doo, Yogi Bear, and the Smurfs. And they kept innovating. And then at some point, the reboots and everything came back one more time for Hanna-Barbera. And then after that, it was pretty much like Turner Broadcasting. Some type of Cartoon Network deal came about. And once Cartoon Network took over, it was the writing was on the ceiling right there. So most definitely, just wanted to add that in there about Hanna-Barbera because I haven't done much talking about them. You know, there was other cartoons, Johnny Quest. There are so many more Wacky Racers, so many more that I could go on and on about. But this was just a quick nod to the Jetsons. Shout out to the Flintstones. And like always, I am JR, your host. Please email us at wvuncommonplace@gmail.com. Interact with us across our different social medias. We have a Discord. We're any and everywhere you are, so let's get this thing going. So once again, this is JR, and this was a combined episode of the rise and fall of the Jetsons and the demise of Hanna-Barbera.
Please follow WV Uncommonplace on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, TikTok, where we have some great content, Facebook, LinkedIn. Hit up the merch store at oncommonplace.square.site. Join the email list from the website, and rate, subscribe, and give feedback from your favorite podcatcher. And lastly, thanks for listening, and tune into the next episode.